Hi, welcome. Teaching technical analysis to homeschoolers. My name is John, and thank you. Over the next few minutes, I would like to propose a new idea, a new concept, especially for those here in the US. This presentation is going to outline how to tailor a technical analysis class to meet graduation requirements while customizing this for your homeschool student. Meaning, as I progress through the next few pages, I want to propose to you some ideas around number one, it's finance, but this is the number one thing, in my opinion, that is missing in the finance education system, if that's what you call it. And that is technical analysis. It's at the bedrock, it's at the cornerstone, it's the missing link. And I'll explain more what I mean here in a few minutes. But then more importantly, my company has the ability to literally tailor this 8-week online course directly to your students' learning style, and then regardless of how well they are doing in school. So based off of their current math or their current reading and writing skills, we can still tailor and customize an 8-week online course. Think differently. You're probably well aware of our education system that has been in place for decades. It's a dinosaur. And the question that I ask myself is, how is our current education system going to allow our children to be successful in this new world 2.0 that we now live in, or what some are calling the fourth industrial revolution? This is literally the biggest transformation of wealth ever. And I'll just say this, we've got two worlds right now. We've got a world that is literally decaying right before our eyes. It's everywhere. It's in social media, it's in mainstream media. And then the other world is there's a brand new world that's being designed and built right before our eyes, but no one is talking about it. And the entire purpose of this is to get our children ready from a finance standpoint, ready and prepared for this new world that we now live in. Hi, so as mentioned, my name is John. I worked at IBM on their North America team dating back to 2015 when I started. And why do I mention this? One of the offerings that I was responsible for was blockchain. So I was on one of the very first blockchain teams that IBM had. And the reason why I think this is relevant is because, as I mentioned, we're in this new world 2.0, and blockchain is going to become a critical element in our everyday lives. The growth rates for blockchain are off the charts between now and this decade. And as I teach this course, yes, it's a financial course and it's around charting and technical analysis, but blockchain is the technology under cryptocurrencies. And if we are going to prepare our children for this new world 2.0 that we live in my opinion, they need to be very aware of this new financial network that is literally being built right before our eyes, and no one is really paying attention. So that's why I mentioned blockchain, even though we'll spend just a little bit of time on this. But I just want to mention this. It's the tech underneath this new financial network that is being built, again, right before our eyes. In addition, I've also been a MIT panelist. And then also, after IBM, I am a former co-founder of a Bitcoin and Ethereum hedge fund. I was on the architect team where I was a key integral part of designing the trend trading system. All right, so let me just introduce at a very high level the course introduction and the objectives. So again, the entire mission is to get our kids ready to learn technical analysis foundations so they can make better informed investment decisions. And in my opinion, learning how to build and read a chart, it's at the core of this online course. And why is that? If you're aware of all of these financial products out there that people can study in terms of what's a stock, what's an ETF, what's the NASDAQ, what's the New York Stock Exchange, Ks, etc., it's all great information. But the number one key missing link in this financial education is learning how to build a chart and read a chart, aka technical analysis. Real quick on this. This is why I feel this is critical. Here's the analogy. I don't know about you, but I don't know much about cars. So when I take my car into the mechanic, I feel like somebody's going to take the money out of my wallet. And what do I mean by that? I don't know anything about cars. I know how to drive them. I know how to put gas in them. And that's about it. If I need an oil change, I don't know how to do it. So I take it down to the local, like, oil can Henry as an example. So here's what I mean. When our kids grow up and they want to make an investment decision, if they don't understand this, they are going to 100% rely on somebody else to make that decision. And a personal quick story, my father, who I didn't know very well, but he made two big bets in his life. And these were two big investments. And both times that he did this, he was recommended from his air quotes financial advisor. And that financial advisor said, "Hey, I've got a hot one. I've got a hot one. You need to do this. You need to do that." So my father actually he went all in on both times. And unfortunately, he bought at the top. And as a result of that, he did this later in his life. So for the last 20 years of his life, he was broke. He lived in poverty, again, because he bought at the top. And worse, he did not understand how to read a chart. He relied on someone else to make that life-changing, investing decision. And so my whole goal is to change this course for our kids to be able to rely on one thing, and that's themselves, and not be influenced by mainstream media or social media. Tailoring the course to meet graduation requirements. Here's what's really cool. So depending on what state that you live in or what county you live in, if you tell me those two things, or if you have a preference where you want your homeschool student to align with, say, the the Common Core State Standards, just as an example, what I can do is I can align the coursework, this 8-week online course, directly to meet the CS as an example, or any other requirements or standards that your child needs to meet in terms of requirement state standards in order to graduate. And in order to do this, all I need is for you just to share with me what those standards are, and then I can take it from there in terms of creating the course, as well as aligning the course to meet those standards. And more importantly, I can share with you precisely and exactly what those standards are so that you can be rest assured that your child will be in direct alignment and meeting those graduation requirements. All right, this is one of my absolute favorites about this particular course, is customizing the course for homeschool students. And by the way, if I forgot to mention, this is specifically going to be for middle and high school students. So now, this is what's truly unique about our course, is when I say customizing, let's say, for example, that you have a son and he is in the 7th grade. Okay, this is probably going to be a terrible example. But let's say that he is into SpongeBob and he has a little bit above average reading and he's below average in math. All of that is just fine. So once you tell me those things as an example, then what I can do is I can literally go out there and create, with the help of AI, the course with a SpongeBob and Patrick theme. I know that's probably a terrible example. My kids are a little older, but I just remember when they were younger, they loved watching SpongeBob. So I can design this with SpongeBob theme. This will help keep the engagement and the interest level high. But also, I can make sure that the reading is at your son's level. And then from a math standpoint, I can make sure that nothing is too beyond their math skills. So this way they're not lost and it's relatively easy for them to follow along. In addition to that, this also applies for the homework. And then, hopefully you'll like this. If you're new to trading, what I can also do is give you suggestions each week. So if your student is stuck and unsure of what to do, and you are there with your son, I can give you suggestions on how to help your child for that particular week. So not only can I give homework, but I can also give you, as the parent, clues and teachable moments where you can interact with your child to help keep them progressing throughout the week. Now, in addition, there's also a once a week, it's a meetup where we meet via Zoom, and this will be other students in the same grade level. There's two things that happen. We come to the call, we ask any question is in bounds, and then based off of those questions, I will spend probably the last 15, 20 minutes teaching a subject that is relevant to the questions, but also for the current week of studies as well as for the next week. So that way everybody's in alignment and hopefully no one gets stuck. And then also everybody is prepared for what's to come. So it's pretty exciting. So at a very high level, here is the course structure and a little bit about the learning outcomes. So number one, understanding TA, understanding technical analysis. So the students will learn the principles of technical analysis, including charting and trends, and they'll develop a deep understanding of the technical indicators and know how to use them. So there are hundreds, if not thousands, of technical indicators out there, but I'm going to introduce just a handful. And I will say this, as part of a hedge fund, these are the exact same indicators that I lived by every single day, but more importantly, they are so easy to understand. So that's going to be part of the curriculum. And then in terms of, for number two, the tools of TA, the tools of technical analysis. So the students will be introduced to the necessary tools to perform TA, and this includes the charting software, and then there's news sources as well as market analysis tools. And one of the tools in particular, it's called TradingView. This might be the hardest part about the entire course, and believe it or not, the technical analysis part. So there's going to be a learning curve there, but I do provide some YouTube videos directly from the company itself, the TradingView, and they're short and sweet and to the point. Some are about 5 minutes, and I think they go up to 10 minutes, but they're very concentrated, so they're very focused. But this, in the first few weeks, will be a big component for the course as we progress. And then number three, this is what I love, real-world applications. So students will apply their technical analysis principles to real-world examples using case studies, and we do group work, say for example, in the weekly meetups that we have, and individual exercises, which is the homework that I mentioned earlier. So in this real world, there are going to be so many applications. So for example, I'm going to ask the students to compare Tesla as an example. So tell me what's going on with Tesla. Is it in an uptrend? Is it in a downtrend? But this is really cool too, as an example. And this will be later in the course. But let's say that the students are interested in Bitcoin or Tesla, and they want to know which one is going to be the fastest horse in the race, as an example. And I will show them how easy this is to compare the two assets together side by side. And the reason why I think this is really important is because, as I alluded to earlier at the top of the call, this new world we live in, part of the world is decaying right before our eyes. But then there's also this new world being built right before our eyes. And this literally is the biggest transformation of wealth ever. So this real world application is going to be my first attempt to share with your child on how to identify these hot trends, but also stay away from these decaying trends. So this is a really cool part about the structure and the learning outcomes. All right, introduction to technical analysis and its importance. So let's start right here. What is technical analysis? So the students are going to learn the basics of TA and the importance in the investment world. And they're going to understand how traders and investors use technical analysis to make informed decisions. And then right here, the benefits. This is where I actually think, with your help and the messaging that I do, that your child, regardless of the grade, whether it's middle school or high school, I think that they're going to really appreciate this once they understand, again, the benefits. And I don't know about you, so in no disrespect when I say something to this next comment. So when my kids were taking, say, ceramics, as an example, and this, I don't mean to offend anybody, but that as an example is not a lifelong skill I know my kids will not use. So as a result of that, they were not interested in it at all. And so what's really neat is when I was sharing this with my kids is the benefits. They knew that this is going to be a lifelong skill of how to make money, save money, as well as grow money. Now, the third, why learn technical analysis? I mentioned this, I alluded to this a little bit. So with the current global economy that we now live in, it's essential to uncover the techniques of technical analysis. And in this particular section, we will provide context by discussing how TA can help your kids plan and invest for your future. And the thing that I love about most is the confidence that this brings our kids. So if they can read a chart, or once they can read a chart and understand that, I'm telling you, their confidence goes through the roof. It's a really cool thing to watch as your child begins to understand, and then ultimately, by the end of the course, they understand how to look at a Tesla, how to look at a Google, how to look at an NVIDIA as an example, or the S&P 500. So again, from a confidence standpoint, it's an amazing feeling as a parent. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the technical analysis charts and the tools. So I alluded to this a little bit, the charting software. This is going to allow the students to understand the charting techniques, and more importantly, how to interpret the data that they are looking at. There is a learning curve here, and I say that here I am 55, and who knows, kids are so smart these days when they pick up new tools and software. So who knows, it may be really quick, but I would say they're going to probably need to spend a good hour or 2 hours, 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, and then we're just going to jump in and use this, I'll call it a tool. I would say that we'll probably spend some time during the first few weeks going through this because it is key. And I'm not kidding. This is probably the most difficult component for the 8-week online course. And then the market analysis tools, I'm going to introduce a variety of cool tools out there, and these are all free. They're going to learn these for various market analysis. So for example, there's a way to find out what the insiders are doing. And what do I mean by an insider? These are like, say, chairman of the boards or CEOs when they worked at publicly traded companies, and we can see if they are buying and selling. And then more importantly, we can go in and take a look at the charts and see what they're up to. And so it's a really cool way to see, again, what the air quotes, the insiders are up to. Now, basic trading patterns. Let me just spend a minute on this. In trading, it's all about patterns. Patterns repeat and they repeat and they repeat. And why is that? It's because patterns are really around human behavior. And we as humans are very predictable. So one of the very first things I do is I teach the kids on how to identify these patterns. The patterns are very recognizable and they're very easy to understand. And more importantly, I've got a really neat hack on how to accelerate their learnings on how to identify these patterns. And this includes for reversals. So when we start to see downtrends, or we start to see changes in terms of going for uptrends, breakouts, and then momentum. What do I mean by momentum? That means just think of a sailboat. How much wind is in the sails, or lack thereof. So by the time your child is done with the 8-week trading course, they're going to be able to identify the patterns, reversals, breakouts, and again, momentum. All right, we're on the second to the last page here. So right here, applying technical analysis to real world examples. So step number 1, understanding chart analysis. So here we experience chart reading and understanding the tools needed to implement technical indicator in the market. And then step number 2, reading real-time news sources. So in TradingView, they have a really cool, it's free, it's their news. And what I do is I share with the kids on how to identify fundamentals. And this is what's interesting in trading. This is a contrarian approach. So let me give you an example. when you see all this negative news, this bearish news in mainstream media, and then you look on the charts, so when you see all this bearish news and you read this bearish news, that probably means that the markets are in an uptrend, or vice versa. So we spend a little bit of time on this, and it's pretty fun. And I let the kids, they pick their favorite company that they're interested in, and then they will go read the news. And then what they do is they come back and they share with me, is it positive news? Is it negative news? And then what we do is we go immediately into the charts and look for any correlations. So it's really fun. And then step number 3. This really is simple, and this is what I enjoy about analyzing the market data with charts. Hear me out. This is what I absolutely love about charts. There is no mainstream media telling us anything. There's no CNN, there's no Bloomberg, there's no nothing. And what I mean by that is, since there's no human emotions affecting us as we look at these charts, there's no noise. So once the kids understand these patterns, they really don't need mainstream media. But when the kids read the charts, they can rely on one thing, and that's themselves. They don't need to go out there and ask, say, 20 people. They don't need a financial advisor. As an example, they can make their own informed decisions because, again, charts are all around human behavior. And we are creatures of habit, and it's all around fear and greed. So, again, once the kids understand the patterns, it's fairly predictable. All right, that is a wrap. And I just want to say thank you so much for sticking it out for this long. Now, as you may know, if you checked out my website, I'm just getting started. The website, by the way, is www.easycharts.trade. I do have a section in there for both middle and high school. So if you can, check it out. But if you are interested in this, send me a message at john@easycharts.trade. Now, the cost. There's going to be a cost to this. It's going to be around $10 a month for as long as your child is enrolled. And then to create the curriculum for the first 10 people. I want to do this for no charge. Now, for anybody that's after the first 10, so it's going to be around $100. And again, remember that SpongeBob analogy I shared with you? So if your child has an interest in anything, even skateboarding, it really doesn't matter. But I can create a curriculum based off of your child's number one interest, as well as map the curriculum to the Common Core standards. So your child will have the graduation requirements met. And then regardless of your child's reading or math skills, doesn't matter. We can create a curriculum where your student's engaged and they're learning and they're going to get excited about it. So that's really about it. So again, if you are interested, please message me anytime. And if you are interested and you still want some more information, you can message me as well, or just take a peek at the website. Again, www.easycharts.trade. It's not complete, the website. It's about 80% done, but I wanted to get it out there so you could take a look at it. All right, thanks so much. And that is a wrap.